Recently, I was discussing the sustainability of today's pace of home sales with a friend, and it gave me the idea to dust off some old data in order to find an answer to this important conversation. The housing market is hot, but is it too hot? Can we keep selling homes at the rates we're seeing today, or is this a case of what goes up must come down? I'll do my best to answer these questions in today's housing market report. Also, I've included a link below the video to all the current listings available in the Tallahassee real estate market. What will jump out at you as you scroll through these homes is that a bunch of them, especially those priced below $600,000, are already under contract with buyers. Hi, I'm Joe Manausa, author of The Business of Getting Business and the creator of Manausa.com, where I've helped tens of thousands of people buy and sell homes. I would like to help you too. If you already are a subscriber, thank you and welcome back. If you're not a subscriber, please consider becoming one now. We offer the most thorough and accurate housing market reports on YouTube, plus answers to your real estate frequently asked questions, and we also provide virtual tours of some of the most beautiful homes in Tallahassee. Please remember to like this video, then hit subscribe and click the bell so that you're the most informed buyer or seller in your next real estate transaction. Just a quick note on my sources of information for this video. Normally, the charts and graphs that I share are produced from information taken from the Tallahassee Board of Realtors Multiple Listing Service. But all but the last two graphs of this video were produced from information purchased from Metro Market Trends. The MLS does not contain all the home sales in our area. Right now, about 81% of all home sales are reported by the MLS, so a more complete view of the entire market is through the data that comes from the Leon County Property Tax Appraiser. This is the source of the data that I used. This graph shows all home sales plotted in red, while the Tallahassee Board of Realtors logo area reveals the number of home sales contained in the Realtor MLS. I favor using the MLS in most reports, as it is available far sooner than the date upon which the county can deliver. But when I really want to know information on all home sales, I have to look beyond the MLS. I believe the best way to evaluate the sustainability of the current pace of home sales is to look at the past. Our first graph starts with a view of existing home sales. There is a blue diamond posted for the number of existing homes sold each month going all the way back to January 1991. The red line plots the linear trend of monthly sales. The linear trend shows that there's a general increase in the number of existing homes sold each month, though recent numbers are nowhere near the level we saw in the years prior to the housing bubble. But there is more to the market than just existing home sales. Unlike existing home sales, new home sales are trending lower at a significantly faster rate. The linear trend here shows a decline of nearly 70% from 1991 to today, and there does not seem to be an effort from builders to reverse this trend. While we might be able to blame today's fewer new construction sales on the impact of the pandemic, the reality is that new home sales should have escalated back in 2016 when market equilibrium was reached. This graph puts the data from each of the past two graphs together and generates the 30-year trend for home sales in Tallahassee. It really blew my mind when I first put this together. I found it surprising that the overall trend for the past 30 years was declining, but that is indeed the case. One would expect a decline if the population was declining or if jobs and the economic growth were receding, but our economy has been fine, and the next graph negates the issue of population reduction. This graph plots annual home sales in blue against annual population totals. Tallahassee's annual population has grown at an average rate of 1.38% from 1991 through present time, which means there's an additional 50% more people in Tallahassee today than there were in 1991. One explanation could be that the 1990s enjoyed a robust housing market, and if our data went back further, we might see significantly lower sales figures in the 1980s and the 1970s. Unfortunately, I do not have that data. Our growing population might be accounted for in the growth of multifamily properties, or student growth could very well be accounted for there. But I do believe this graph reveals a reason to be bullish on home sales for the coming years. Our next graph will look at long-term trends and cycles to see what the numbers say about the sustainability of home sales in Tallahassee. This graph plots monthly home sales and then computes the 1-year, 8-year, and 16-year trends in order. The red line in the chart above plots the 1-year trend of home sales. This means that every stop on the chart in red represents the average number of homes sold each month for the past year. Similarly, the blue line plots the average number of homes sold each month over the past 8 years, while the gray line plots the average number of homes sold each month over the past 16 years. While I'm not a true math geek, and if you happen to be one, please chime in down below in the comment section, I think this chart shows a lot of upside potential. The one-year average is above both the longer-term trends. The middle trend, at 8 years, just crossed over the long-term trend and suggests that we'll see about 7 to 8 more years of growth in the 8-year average. Again, this is not my specialty, but I do believe that the combination of recent years' home sales activity with a growing population favors a growing housing market. Sure, there are many short-term factors that could derail this. Rapidly rising mortgage interest rates, lost jobs, struggling economy, etc. But I think history supports the expected growth in housing. While history favors a growing housing market, I do believe the biggest issue that we'll need to overcome is affordability. This graph plots the average price per square foot of homes sold each month in Tallahassee over the past 30 years. The blue line plots the one-year average, which just moved to an all-time high, while the thin black line measures the 8-year average. The yellow line was added manually and is not scientific, but I use it to take the average from the 1990s and extend it forward. During the housing market recovery, we saw home values drop below this average, but since 2018, homes have appreciated in value to levels above this growth rate. Unfortunately, we do not have data prior to the 1990s, so we have no idea how normal the appreciation rate was during that decade. I've used this graph for years, though, to estimate the number of people who were upside down in their homes due to the bursting of the housing bubble back in 2006. I'm happy to report that number is now down to 0. The 8-year trend line provides an interesting insight. We saw it rise from as early as the mid-1990s through sometime in 2010, so at least 15 years, though it went through about 8 years of decline before reversing to positive about 3 years ago. So what does this mean? The short answer is I'm not exactly sure, though I'm betting on at least 5 more years of value growth before we see any real sign of appreciation slowing. Of course, when you factor in the many measurements and statistics that I've shared in recent reports that specifically relate to the supply and demand for homes, everything in the market points to values rising at faster than normal rates for the foreseeable future. Additionally, it's clear we need more new homes, and new home construction will not be getting any cheaper. With supply being low and the cost to increase supply rising, we should expect new home costs to continue to pull existing home values higher. The final 2 graphs in today's video come from data pulled from the Tallahassee MLS. This allows me to assess the market nearly a full month earlier than I can do by relying on data from the Property Tax Appraiser's Office. Home sales in the MLS rose about 10% in March when compared to March of 2020. There might still be some real estate agents posting sales late, so we can expect a slightly higher number of homes sold in March when all have been reported. The housing market is on a very strong run right now. For the past 7 months, and 8 of the past 9, the MLS has posted year-over-year gains. Considering how sales fell off when COVID hit last year, it won't surprise me to see 3 more months of gains in our near future. While the previous graph measured year-over-year home sales, this graph measures home sales year-to-date. Thus, each year is showing the number of homes sold in the first quarter. Home sales in 2021 are up 11% over 2020 and trail only 2005 and 2006 for the number of homes sold in the first quarter of the year. Though this graph only goes back to 2002, I'll tell you that this means that 2021 has started out as the 3rd strongest year ever in Tallahassee. And therein lies the question that we have attempted to understand in this report. Is this level of home sales sustainable? Based on what we have examined today, I do believe so. All but 2 factors appear to support continued growth in the housing market, and those 2 factors are rising mortgage interest rates and declining home affordability. Based on what we've examined today, I do believe so. All but 2 factors appear to support continued growth in the housing market, and those 2, rising mortgage interest rates and declining home affordability, have not yet shown themselves to be showstoppers. And if you are worried about a massive foreclosures hitting the market, you should watch my recent video on the U.S. housing market. I cover foreclosures and forbearance in great detail. There are many factors that can influence home sales, and that is why we monitor everything so closely. We'll let you know when the first signs of a slowdown begin. We'll see the relative supply of homes start to rise, and then we'll see the real supply follow suit. The housing market does not change overnight, so we'll all have advance notice of what's to come. And you can count on me to report fact-based activity in the housing market each week. If you would like to see more videos about current housing market conditions, I've assembled a great playlist that you can view by clicking on the box on the top left corner of your screen. For a playlist of videos with answers to questions from viewers just like you, just click on the box below it. Please remember to like this video, check out the links below it, and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything.